Hey gang, this is editing mode Ryan here. Just a quick disclaimer for this episode. We recorded video for this podcast, which turns out is very hard. So the audio for this episode might sound just a little bit strange, but we know what the issue is and bear with us. It won't be there for next episode. And also, turns out editing video is a lot harder than editing audio, so the video podcast on YouTube might be delayed by a couple days. Thanks for hanging in there. Anyways, back to the show.
Season 2?
Season 2, episode
Question mark.
episode TBD.
But, big announcement, which you probably know because you're probably watching.
Hey, first off, this is the What Happened podcast.
It's a podcast.
I'm your host, Owen. I'm your host, Ryan. That's your host, Owen.
First time they see us and you fuck our names up.
Yeah, and if you're new to this podcast, this is a satirical history podcast where we talk about some weird shit back in the day.
Hence the history.
But anyways, if you're listening to this on a podcast service such as Apple Music, Spotify, turn it off. Turn it off. Throw your phone in a disposal, light it on fire.
No.
Open up a computer and go on YouTube so you can see our beautiful, bright, shiny faces because we're on YouTube, bitches.
We also need the views or the Spotify as well and stuff.
It's going to be really awkward when I can't get this video to work and I just made such a big deal about it. And
So
it's
do you
not going to be on YouTube.
Do you want to have two intros? All right, so that was the first intro. Now this is the second intro. Action.
Welcome back to the What Happened podcast. I'm your boy, Ryan.
You almost got your name wrong again.
I
Ryan.
didn't like saying
I'm
your
Owen.
boy threw me off.
Why? Because you're wearing a chain and you think you're cool?
Hey,
A sterling silver chain?
stainless steel. Anyways, I'm your host, Ryan. That's Owen. This is a satirical history podcast where we talk about weird shit from back in the day.
What
happened?
Oh no, who goes first? You talked about the chick with a dolphin 2 times ago.
No, that was 2 times ago. Last we did Killdozer, which I believe is first.
I went first, and then you followed up with the porter.
Yes.
So it's you now.
So it's me now?
Yeah.
All right, so everybody just buckle up because the first half of this is so boring, but it's needed for context. Anyways.
Yeah, it took him actually 2 hours to write this.
We're talking about U.S. President William McKinley, the life and death.
Okay.
So William McKinley was born on January 29th, 1843 in Niles, Ohio, the 7th of 9 children of William McKinley Sr. McKinley, not McKinley.
You said McKinley.
His mom was Nancy McKinley. The family trade on both sides was ironworking. McKinley Sr. operated foundries throughout Ohio in New Lisbon, Niles, Poland, and Canton. That's Poland, Ohio.
Poland, Ohio.
Yeah. In 1852, the family...
As if Poland wasn't bad enough.
In 1852, the family moved from Niles to Poland, Ohio, so their children could get a better education. Graduating from Poland Seminary in 1859, McKinley enrolled the following year in Allegheny College in Meadville, Pennsylvania.
Wait, he was in the seminary? Is that what you just said?
It was just a seminary college. Oh, I forgot to open my beer. We forgot to open our beers, Owen.
Oh, God. I gotta turn without hitting everything.
Okay, ready on the count of 3. Don't fuck this up.
Label away. We're not sponsored.
I'll blur it.
Hey, well.
1. What? 1, 2, 3. Owen just struggled with a twist off.
Life is pain. Pain is life. So, all right. So, we went to seminary college.
I think it was just a school run by priests, but
and it was like an all-boys college.
I would assume.
So, William McKinley lived life.
Those priests love boys.
Yeah, young men. These are college men we're talking about.
So, in 1861, McKinley enlisted in the Union Army when the Civil War broke out.
Okay.
That's interesting, right?
I feel like it would have been more interesting if you said like Confederate and he was from Ohio, but
yeah, that would be.
Ohio's the pride of the Union. Everyone knows that.
After a month of training, McKinley and the 23rd Regiment of Ohio, now led by Colonel Eliakim P. Scammon, set out.
What?
Eliakim P. Scammon.
Oof, that's a name you don't see these days.
They set up for West Virginia in 1861 as part of the Kanawha Division. Their first contact with the enemy came in September when they drove back Confederate troops at Carnifex Ferry. What? I don't know that. Carnifex Ferry in present-day Western Virginia.
You wrote it down.
Is that a boat or a town?
It's probably a town with a ferry on it.
Potentially. So anyway, some shit happens. McKinley gets promoted, and eventually his regiment marched to Maryland, where they engaged Robert E. Lee's troops at the Battle of Antietam.
Okay. How'd they do?
It was one of the bloodiest battles in all of the war.
No, that was Gettysburg.
It was one of.
Or the northernmost battle of Schrute Farms.
It was one of.
That was the best reference I could have ever said, and you didn't
bloodiest
even laugh.
Battles in all of the war.
Hopefully someone got the Office reference there.
So when the war eventually ended, McKinley retired from the army as a brevet major.
Brevet?
Yeah, it's like you're the same rank as a major, but you did some like cool shit, so you're like cooler than a major, but you're still technically the same rank, I think.
Gotcha.
And he decided to pursue a career in law, and he started studying at the office of an attorney in Poland, Ohio. He later went to law school in New York State and passed the bar exam in 1867.
You do a lot of shit with lawyers. Your last guy was also a lawyer or something, right?
My last guy?
No, your last guy was
a boat. Yeah.
Who was before? No, that was jerking off a dolphin. There was someone I don't know. Anyways.
Oh, the guy who just marched into Mexico.
Yeah,
I was like, this shit's mine now.
Yeah, he was also a lawyer, right?
Yeah. So, in 1869, McKinley ran for office of prosecuting attorney of Stark County, Ohio, an office that has historically been held by Democrats. He was unexpectedly elected. He was a good speech giver, I think.
An orator, some would say.
Orator?
Oh.
I don't know. McKinley eventually campaigned for the Republican nomination of the Ohio 17th Congressional District and was nominated in August 1876.
All right.
So 100 years after the War for Independence.
So that's how he started his political power?
Mm-hmm.
Or his rise?
By that time, Rutherford B. Hayes had been nominated for president, and McKinley campaigned for him while running his own congressional campaign. So basically, he does a lot of boring government shit until around 1896 when he runs for president on the platform of tariff reform, eventually beating William Jennings Bryan, which is a great name.
Bryan. Last name Bryan?
William Jennings, though. That's cool. I don't know. How many people you know named Jennings?
I don't know.
Yeah. Wasn't Jennings the bad guy from Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow?
Not a clue.
You haven't seen Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow?
Half of your movie references, 2 people get.
He was sworn into office on March 4th, 1897. The new president of the United States. I forget the number.
Probably less than 40, greater than 12.
So since 1895, there was also a civil war in Cuba. McKinley,
who gives a fuck,
backed the rebels, and when he took office, attempted peaceful approach to getting Spain to grant Cuba its independence.
Oh, is that what the Civil War was about? Independence?
Yeah, it was the Cuban people who lived there were trying to get independence from
Cuban, yeah.
The Spaniards.
Yep, makes sense.
España.
Did they get it?
We'll get there.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But it becomes clear that Spain would not concede Cuban independence, while the rebels and their American supporters would never settle for anything less.
Okay.
In January of 1898, riots broke out in Cuba, and McKinley agreed to send the battleship the USS Maine to assist Consul Fitzhugh Lee in Havana. On February 15th, the Maine exploded and sank and killed 266 men. So just like gets there and blows up.
Dude, how fucking mad would you be if that's your assignment? You gotta worry about someone else's revolution and then you just fucking blow up. Yikes.
So on March 20th, the court ruled that the Maine was blown up by an underwater mine.
They had those, huh?
Yeah. It's never really figured out who.
Probably the Cubans.
Why the Cubans?
Maybe the enemy of the Cubans.
The Spaniards.
Yeah, what if they just drop mines and shit? I feel like that's pretty likely.
Yeah. So, as pressure for war mounted in Congress, McKinley continued to negotiate for Cuban independence. Spain refused McKinley's proposal, and on
What year was this? Sorry.
April 12th, 1896, 7?
Okay.
1898.
All right.
McKinley turned the matter over to Congress.
Uh-oh.
He did not ask for war, but Congress declared war on April 20th.
So they declared war on Cuba's behalf.
Yes, they declared war on Spain.
Gotcha.
Which also, I cut a lot of shit about the Spanish-American War out on this, but it was like way bigger than I thought it was. I thought it was just in Cuba, but it's like the Philippines and Guam, all that shit.
Yeah, we took the Philippines from them. Yeah.
Yeah, all that was Spanish-American War.
Yeah. We did a lot of cool shit back in the day.
Yeah, dude. The first Americans landed in Cuba on June 10th. How did I get October?
Couple months.
With the landing of the 1st Marine Battalion at Fisherman's Point in Guantanamo Bay.
Oh, is that why we...
I think that's why we have a base there.
Oh.
Yeah. The U.S. Army employed Civil War-era skirmishes at the head of advancing columns. 3 of 4 U.S. soldiers who had volunteered to act as skirmishers walking points at the head of American columns were killed. 3 of 4. That's a lot of people. Regular Spanish troops were mostly armed with modern... Why did I put this in here? It's not relevant.
Dude,
about what kind of guns they used.
You're the one who was flexing that it
I'm
took you
skipping this.
so long
I'm
to
skipping
write
this. The only cool part about this is that the guns that the Spanish used, they called it the Spanish Hornet because they used supersonic rounds.
Oh.
Which is kind of cool.
I thought because it would sting. Just like,
Skip this.
Yeah, aren't you talking about the president right now and not the war in Cuba?
Skip this.
Isn't this whole thing about William McKinley?
Skip this.
What did you do, man? Dude, you copied and pasted too hard.
After about 3 months of fighting and about 3,500 dead, hostilities were halted on August 12th, 1898, with the signing in Washington of a protocol of peace between the U.S. And Spain, and eventually the Treaty of Paris was signed. And the United States was gained Spain's colonies of the Philippines, Guam, Puerto Rico, and in the treaty, Cuba became a U.S. Protectorate. It's important, I guess.
You wrote it.
During his presidency, McKinley was famous for opening trade in China, reforming tariffs, and speaking out against lynchings in the South.
Yikes. All right.
Yeah. He's a good guy, I guess. I don't know. Not if you like lynchings. Everything's a matter of perspective, isn't it?
All right, just get to your point.
So McKinley was reelected in 1900. Now, I know that all that sucked. It's so boring, but here is the good part. I'm glad you sat through that.
Oh, I'd sat.
Yeah, you are sitting currently.
Let the record show.
Am I sitting or laying?
You're laying down. By the way, is your chain dishwasher safe? Because it's stainless steel, which means it doesn't rust, right?
Can you put a refrigerator in a dishwasher? Those are stainless steel usually.
But babies aren't dishwasher safe.
Are they made of stainless steel though? Continue. Anyways, enter Leon Czolgosz.
Okay.
Which I think is how you say his name. It's spelled Czolgosz. Czolgosz. I'm just gonna call him Leon.
Sometimes I just if I don't know how to say the word, like their names like that, I highlight it and then do the Google speak and then do whatever they try.
Or that's when you just fade out halfway through.
Yeah.
Leon. So Leon was an American steelworker and anarchist from Alpena, Michigan.
Ah, fun.
He was one of 8 children born to a Polish-American family. His family moved to Detroit when he was 5. And by the age of 17...
Wait. They didn't want to go to Poland, Ohio?
Well, from Michigan.
The Polish capital?
By the age of 17, he found employment at the Cleveland Rolling Mill Company, which is like a steel company.
Makes sense.
Because they had rolling mills, like steel mills.
Like they rolled?
I don't know. After the economic crash of 1893, the factory that he worked at closed for a good amount of time, and when they reopened, they refused to pay anybody the same amount of wages.
Okay.
So Leon joined a moderate working man's socialist club called the Knights of the Golden Eagle.
That's a pretty sick name, I'll be honest.
Well, if you contrast that to the racist Southerner group,
Yep.
Knights of the Golden Circle.
Golden Temple. Yeah, isn't that like an Indiana Jones movie?
No, it's Raiders of the Lost Ark. But anyways,
Yeah.
it sounds eerily similar to those guys.
Also, every time I think of, I don't know, was the German Reich a Golden Eagle too, right?
They did have those.
Yeah.
You ever see The Eagle with Channing Tatum?
Nope.
Oh, it's the one
Once
where
again, every movie reference you
he
make.
like has to march by himself to like the top of England. Who are they?
So
back then?
Scotland.
No, but like back in Roman eras.
Oh, the Picts and stuff.
The Picts to
Yeah.
like get an eagle.
I think like the Britons. Or the
Oh, yeah, there is the Britons.
Britannians or something. Yeah.
Good movie. You should watch it. Anyways,
Never heard.
so yeah, he joins this like socialist club, and there he gets introduced to the idea of anarchism.
Okay.
So Sholkosh rejected his family's Catholic beliefs and became excited when he heard of an Italian immigrant named Gaetano Bresci, who had returned to Italy and assassinated King Umberto I.
Was there a second?
No, because they killed. Well, he
Well,
might have had a
there
kid.
should
I
have
don't
been a
know.
second if he was called the first.
Well, yeah, I guess. Otherwise, he'd just be King Umberto.
Yeah, exactly.
So he kept a newspaper cutting of this assassination.
So he basically fantasized about this dude assassinating someone, and
Yeah.
naturally
So he gets like introduced to anarchism, and then he's like, "Bro, this fucking Italian dude
he
who was
did
an
it.
anarchist like killed somebody. That was pretty cool."
Was he caught though? Because if they knew who did it, so
Yeah,
he was caught.
Yeah.
Was he like executed?
I didn't look into that. That's not what this story's about.
Oh, well, just I mean, I feel like if it was me personally, and I wanted to be like, oh, that was cool, like he did that, and then I saw his punishment, it would probably deter me. That was my whole point in asking. But
Yeah, I don't know.
all right,
So he kept a newspaper clipping of the assassination, and he started to read anarchist newspapers.
didn't know that was a thing.
In 1898, after witnessing a series of similar strikes, many ending in violence, and perhaps ill from a respiratory disease, Leon went to live with his father, who had bought a 50-acre farm west of Warrensville, Ohio.
I like how you're struggling with like the normal names.
Well, it's because I think it's because this like the charger on this iPad is on the left, so I can't use the stand, so I have to like look down a lot, and then I'm trying to look over my mic. I don't know. Anyways, according to his father, he did little to assist in running the farm and was constantly at odds with his stepmother and with his family's Catholic beliefs.
He like chose to live with them, and then
He
would just
definitely was
argue
like,
with them.
"Don't worry, Dad, I'm moving home." And then his dad's like, "All right, I need you to wake up at 5, feed the cows." She's like, "Fuck you, Dad."
How old is he? Old enough.
I think he's in his like 20s.
Yeah,
or something. He would often sit alone in his room reading
Aw.
anarchist newspapers and drinking milk.
Ooh. Like whole unpasteurized milk,
This
middle
is,
of the summer, reading a newspaper.
Before refrigeration, I'm
Ugh.
pretty sure too. So just some hot milk.
Do we know like what month this was?
No.
Because like just sitting there in a nice wool shirt,
Just
drinking warm milk indoors.
You got like a 3-piece suit on.
Yep, looking dapper as hell, drinking
Dapper's hell, sweaty as fuck.
milk.
Down in milk by the gallon.
Can you imagine the smells in that room?
Ugh.
Hot milk and BO.
Hot Milk and B.O. is the name of my sex tape. I was gonna say band, but I didn't think it would work. I don't know, whatever. It was later said that throughout his life, he had never shown any interest in friendship or romantic relationships, and was bullied during his childhood.
I feel like that's what they say about you.
So Leon became a recluse. He was impressed after hearing a speech by the anarchist Emma Goldman,
Okay.
who he met for the first time at one of her lectures in Cleveland in May of 1901. He eventually met Emma after a speech she gave, and she introduced him to several of her anarchist friends.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That probably went well.
In the weeks that followed, Leon's social awkwardness, evasiveness, and blunt inquiries about secret societies around like the area resulted in the Radical Free Society newspaper to issue the following warning pertaining to him. So basically, like, he
Wait,
meets.
the newspaper he likes issued
Yeah.
a warning about him.
So he basically meets this woman Emma. She introduces him to some anarchists.
He falls in love.
No, never showed any passion for romantics. Yeah, so he meets her. She introduces him to these like anarchists or whatever, and then he like goes around trying to find these secret anarchist societies, and he's like, do you guys are anarchists, right?
And he
Because
sounds
I'm an anarchist. He's giving
socially
off
awkward as
major narc vibes, pretty much. So, in a publication, they oh, did I not put it in here? I thought I copy pasted it. Oh, I don't know. This is really funny, like clipping of him, and it's like he dresses like you. He's tall and dapper, but he cannot be trusted. Something like that. Anyways, so this dude gets laid off from work, moves back in with his dad, gets into anarchism, meets some anarchist chick, and then gets disavowed by the very anarchist group he wants to join.
That's kind of funny.
So he has like nothing going for him.
No, he literally has nothing to live for.
So he decides to get inspired by Gaetano Bresci.
The Italian dude.
Yeah, and decides to take matters into his own hands.
All right. I like where this is going.
On June 13th, 1901, William McKinley planned a trip to New York. And the trip would...
New York what? New York?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, to New York State. He was going all over.
Gotcha.
But during this trip, he planned to give a short speech at the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo, New York.
Oh, Buffalo. Heard it's lovely.
Yeah, I love that bit from F is for Family where he's just like, I don't know, just smile and pretend that Buffalo ain't a shithole.
I mean, they got waterfalls, right?
Yeah, very close to Niagara.
I wonder if everything just smells like mildew and shit.
Actually, I went to the American side of Niagara.
So you went to Buffalo.
Yeah, I went to Buffalo. And there were just like, for some reason, an insane amount of it, like Indian restaurants.
I honestly thought you were going to say Chinese food places. But
No.
that is different to me.
And I was
Okay.
at the falls and I was like, is that curry? Like, I don't know why, but the entire town just smells like Indian food.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I would not expect that.
So the Pan American Exposition, Owen, was a World's Fair held in Buffalo, New York, from May 1st through November 2nd, 1901.
It's a long time.
It features such exhibits as agricultural manufacturers, or
You
hold on.
got this. You got this.
It features such exhibits as the Liberal Arts Building, the Electric Tower, the Electricity Building, the Mines, Forestry, and Graphic Arts Building,
And graphic arts.
the Women's Building,
Ooh.
and the now infamous Temple of Music.
I assume that's where he
We'll get there.
got gadded.
Um,
Wait, so they had a mining building and also liberal arts or something?
yeah, it
What'd
was
you say
mining and liberal arts. Anyway,
Also an
here's a
electricity
drill, but
building?
also here's a novel about like rights or something.
So was there just like Nikola Tesla in one of the buildings?
It said that the whole place was like illuminated at night, which I guess for the time was like
I mean,
very
1901.
impressive.
Yeah.
So on the morning of Thursday, September 5th, the fair gates opened at 6 a.m. To allow the crowds to enter early to see good spots to witness the president's speech.
Okay.
Of the 116,000 fairgoers that day, about 50,000 are believed to have attended McKinley's speech.
It's a good amount. Jeez.
In his final speech, McKinley urged an end to American isolationism. He proposed trade arrangements which would allow U.S. manufacturers new markets.
I mean, it seems like a good place to do it at a World Trade Fair.
A quote from his or a quote from his speech.
At the fair.
The period of exclusionism is past, or the period of exclusiveness is past. The expansion of our trade and commerce is the pressing problem. Commercial wars are unprofitable. This guy likes trade. I don't know.
I thought you said he was good at speeches.
People ate this shit up back in 1901, man. So the crowd greeted his speech with loud applause.
Wait, real quick. He was reelected in 1900?
Yes.
So this was your, what,
Well, it's like
6, technically?
he got sworn into office in like November, though. So it's like his
Okay.
like second month as president.
Okay. Well, no, you said he was reelected.
Yeah, second month in his second term.
Gotcha. Okay. That's what I was clarifying.
So the crowd greeted his speech with loud applause, and at its conclusion, the president escorted Ida McKinley, his wife, back to her carriage as she was to return to the Milburn House while he saw the sights of the fair.
Ooh.
The
So
Milburn
he didn't
house
want her
is...
to have fun, is what you're saying.
Well, also, I think it's funny because at this time she was like deathly ill.
Oh, good for her.
But he would just like bring her around.
It's like, yeah, you have to come to Buffalo, New York.
Of all places. Yeah, but the Milburn house was just this like really big house that one of the like fair organizers lived in. So like he goes there a lot. So he was heavily guarded by soldiers and police, but still tried to interact with the public, encouraging those who tried to run to him by noticing them, and bowing to a group of loud popcorn sellers.
What?
Popcorn! Get your popcorn!
It's just like, I don't know.
So he made an unscheduled stop for coffee at the Puerto Rican building.
I'm sorry, what?
There's a Puerto Rican building too. I forgot to say that.
You ever been to a Puerto Rican Day parade?
No, I've heard there's a lot of ass.
Do you want to go?
So yeah, he made an unscheduled stop for coffee at the Puerto Rican building before returning to the Milburn house in the late afternoon.
Okay.
Leon, gun in his pocket, had arrived earlier at the fair and was quite close to the podium before McKinley had arrived. He considered shooting the president during his speech, but he felt that he couldn't get a clear hit.
No. He was compelled by the speech.
He was like, damn, we really do have to open up foreign markets. So he attempted to follow McKinley as he was doing all this shit, like yelling at popcorn sellers or whatever.
Getting mad. He's like, talking to popcorn guys, not him.
He attempted to follow McKinley as the president began his tour of the fair, but was thrust back by security officers.
Thrust back.
Yeah, they're like, get out of here, kid.
Not you, Leon.
So Leon saw no further chance of getting the president that day and returned to his $2 a week rented room above a saloon.
Good for him.
Yeah. So on the morning of Friday, September 6th, 1901, McKinley dressed formally as usual, then departed the Milburn house to stroll through the neighborhood.
Okay.
Leon also arose early with the intent of lining up for the public reception. The fair organizers had chosen the Temple of Music as a place for William McKinley to host a public reception. Basically, you could just go and you could just shake hands with them.
Yeah. I also
it was supposed to be like 10 minutes long.
Like that's called the Temple, by the way.
Temple of Music.
But I'm sure it's just this like really shitty building.
It was 1901. They had class back then, you know.
Ooh, class. Excuse me.
So they spent the morning of September 6th making some physical arrangements for the reception. Floor seating was removed to create a broad aisle running from the east doors through which the public would be admitted to where McKinley would stand.
I like that you put east in there. I know you did that.
I don't know where it ended.
Yeah, I
Right
like
in the
how there's
west?
no other references to any compass directions. Where do they enter, Ryan?
No, they entered the east.
Yeah, but which way is he facing? North? Why is that pertinent?
North by Northwest? It's a good movie.
Get to it.
Once, how funny would it be if you were just like, I don't know, like south by south north or something? I don't know. Never mind.
So stupid. South by south north.
Once members of the public shook hands with McKinley, they would continue on to exit the building. An American flag was draped behind the president, both to screen him from behind and for decoration.
Ooh, fancy.
Several potted plants were arrayed around his place to create an attractive scene.
So he wasn't cute enough, is what you're
Spruce up
saying?
the joint, you know? He's pretty big.
He's pretty
these
fugly,
days,
though.
yeah. Exhibition police were stationed at the doors. Detectives from the Buffalo police guarded the aisles.
Real quick, exhibition police, to me, just seems like a bunch of cops that would walk around alleys and make sure no one's jerking off.
I just figured it'd be a bunch of cops jerking off.
Oh, there you go. Also, yes.
In addition to McKinley's usual Secret Service agent, George Foster, 2 other agents had been assigned to the Buffalo trip because of Corty Lou's security concerns. Corty Lou, I guess, is like the main security guy. Just so you know.
I don't think you know.
McKinley arrived just on time, glanced at the arrangements, and walked over to his place, where he stood with Milburn on his left and Corty Lou on his right. A pipe organ began to play the Star-Spangled Banner.
Ooh, patriotic.
As McKinley ordered the doors opened to admit those who had waited to greet him. An experienced politician, McKinley could shake hands with 50 people per minute.
That's not like a... Is that a flex?
He had a technique where he would grip their hands first, so as to both guide them past him quickly and prevent them from squeezing his fingers.
So he like tugs on their arm a little bit.
I think he like grabs your hand and then just like jostles you the other direction to like get you out of there.
That sounds so worth the wait.
Yeah. So people filled in and shook hands with the president until
Are you telling me Leon was in that
Leon
line?
came around.
Ugh.
Leon approached the president with a handkerchief draped over his right hand. McKinley initially thought that Leon's hand must be injured, so he reached for his left hand.
How do we know what he was thinking?
Well, they saw him reach for his left hand. I don't know.
Maybe he was like, "Oh, he has a gun. Let's just shake his left hand."
So he reached for his left hand until Leon whipped out a .32 caliber Ivor Johnson revolver, the same revolver used to assassinate Italian King Umberto I.
No coincidence there, I'm sure.
Leon shot McKinley twice in the abdomen before being tackled by McKinley's security detail, who proceeded to bludgeon him with the butts of their rifles.
I mean, I'd probably do the same.
Yeah.
Because, like, you weren't good enough at your job to prevent the dude with a weird handkerchief on his right hand.
You might as well beat him half to death.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
McKinley ordered the men to stop beating him, to stop beating the shit out of Leon, and then he was taken away by his security.
Do you think he said that because no one was paying attention to the dying president and everyone was just kicking this dude?
Seriously, guys, need help. So McKinley was shot at 4:07 p.m. and an ambulance arrived at the exhibition. Sorry, on scene is shop talk.
You say shop talk?
Yeah. Anyways,
I think he just tried to impress you with the fact that he's a paramedic.
Yes, I am. Did you see this chain? Medic money.
No, it's not.
Paramedic money, stainless steel.
Yeah, any other type of job would be actual sterling silver
or gold. So an ambulance arrived at the exhibition at 4:25, and McKinley was taken.
That's good response time.
It was 20.
Also, they weren't like EMTs or medics or nurses or anything.
No, they were like butchers and barbers.
Yeah, like barbers. So, dude showed up with scissors. Yeah. The guy finished cutting hair and then responded.
Hold on, I'm almost done with this fade. So he was taken to the closest hospital. However, at the time of the shooting, this is where it gets wacky on.
Oh, you talked about this. Yeah.
No fully qualified doctor.
Dude, it took you like 35 minutes to get to the cool story. You could have just talked about William McKinley and then just jumped right to this.
At the time of
Instead, you just delved into Cuba.
At the time of the shooting, Owen.
Yeah, this is the cool story.
At the time of the shooting.
Dude, what in this?
At the time of the shooting, no qualified doctor was at the hospital. Only nurses and interns. The best surgeon in the city and the exhibition's medical director, Dr. Roswell Park, was in Niagara Falls performing a delicate neck operation. When interrupted during the procedure on September 6th, to be told he was needed in Buffalo, he responded that he could not leave, even if it was the President of the United States. And then they said, like, haha, Doc, that's a good one, but it's actually the President of the United States who got killed.
Did he leave?
I think so, yeah.
Dude, how mad would you be?
Or maybe he just did like a real like botch job, like closing up the lady's neck.
Dude, can you imagine being the patient's family and being like, look, I get it, but, like,
but still.
My mom is now dead.
So the first physician to arrive on scene at the hospital was Dr. Herman Minter.
Like 7 hours later?
Yeah. With Park unavailable and the fading afternoon light being the majority of the source of illumination in the operating room.
Whoa. They didn't just move the operating room to the tower of light or whatever.
Tower of power.
Yeah. Whatever that weird all lit building was.
No, they did not. It's funny because they said that they had like a prototype X-ray machine at one of these exhibits, and they're like, "Oh, can we use this on the president?" And they're like, "No, it'll be fine."
How many people do you think got cancer from that?
Quite a many. Since sunlight was the
yikes,
like main source of illumination in this operating room, they decided to start the operation as quickly as they could.
Was he like conscious at the time?
We'll get there.
Will we?
Yes, we will. You just ruined. You. I don't know where I am now because of you.
Oh my god! You're 7 hours into your spiel. That's where you are.
So they're trying to get out the remaining bullet. It's important to note that Minter was not experienced in abdominal wounds.
So it was like he got shot twice. You said so. It was
Yeah.
like one a through and through, and then the other one was just like lodged in a organ.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was not experienced in abdominal wounds. He was a gynecologist. So,
Hey,
Minter
doctor's
gave...
a doctor. Ask my sister. Shout out.
She's a physical therapist, audience. So Minter gave McKinley a bunch of morphine and a bunch of ether to sedate him. And
just put her down, boys.
yeah, so apparently it was like very hard to put him down because they kept trying to give him ether, and he was just so fat that he wouldn't. It was like he wouldn't stay down, so he kept like waking up halfway through.
And he was just go, "Whoa, girl, whoa."
Calm thoughts, ocean breeze. So to increase lighting, sunlight was reflected onto the wound by another physician holding like a mirror towards the end of the surgery.
Did it also cauterize?
No, it's not
Much
a
like I did
magnifying
with
glass.
ants when I was a kid.
That's a magnifying glass, not a mirror.
I don't know. Do I look like a scientist?
No, definitely not.
Thank you.
The hospital also lacked basic surgical equipment, Owen, such as retractors.
Okay. So they're hosting a fair with 150,000 people in attendance, and they didn't think to like beef the hospital up.
I don't think back then they really gave a shit about stuff.
Other
that.
humans, yeah.
No, it's not like where if like the Boston Marathon is happening, like all the hospitals along the route,
Yeah.
like gear up. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
and there's
they don't
us
do like special shit.
in an ambulance with no idea where I am or how to get anywhere.
I have to get to the other side.
With a map book in my hand.
Yeah, so they didn't have like basic surgical shit. The doctors also found it hard to work on McKinley because of his immense weight.
Or because he was a gynecologist.
Well, at this point, the gynecologist guy started the surgery, and then like 50 more doctors like flooded in because it's the
then
president.
he tagged himself out.
Yeah.
He was like, absolutely not.
So they managed to sew McKinley up, but they never found the bullets he'd been shot with. One of them believed that it was like lodged somewhere in his back fat.
So they just dug around a lot, mushed a lot of stuff around, and then stitched it back up.
Pretty much.
Nice.
So after this surgery, McKinley appeared to be doing fine, and he was moved to the Melbourne residence to recover.
Okay.
Everything looked okay until the president suddenly collapsed.
Ooh. What, did he get, like, gangrene or something?
Yeah, so it was discovered that, they were like, "Oh, President, you're doing good enough. You can have some, like, toast and, like, chicken broth, like, really bland shit."
Oh,
and
was
then
his stomach, like, perforated?
Yeah, then he just, like, got intense stomach pain, and they're like, "It's probably indigestion."
No Pepto-Bismol back then.
So it was
or
later...
penicillin, right?
No.
Oof.
So it was later discovered that McKinley had been shot through his stomach and his like sigmoid colon, and
so
one of his kidneys.
He was leaking a lot.
And they only sewed up his stomach. So like there's a lot of just like disgusting shit pouring into his abdomen.
Yep, good.
Which was slowly poisoning his blood.
That had to be tremendously painful.
Oh yeah, the ether probably took the edge off though. Could you imagine being like, "Don't worry, I'm doing fine. Pain's not too bad." Just huffing ether.
Drifting away.
So at
That had to be a sight, dude.
just huffing ether, taking morphine shots.
Like, can you imagine you walk in, checking up on the president? He's like, "Yeah, the pain really hurts," and you just like pour something on a cloth and just shove it in his face.
He's just like fucking like staring at the ceiling, like staring at lights, being like, "Whoa." So at 2:15 a.m. on Saturday, September 14th, 1901, President McKinley dies.
Oof.
Shout
What
out to
happened
an
to
angel.
Leon?
We'll get there.
Jeez, how long is this?
Right now. On September 13th, the day before McKinley succumbed to his wounds, Leon was taken to police headquarters in Buffalo, New York, and was later transferred to Erie County Women's Penitentiary.
Oh.
Because
there was a gynecologist involved.
no, I guess the like police headquarters was doing renovations or something, so like we can't keep him here.
During a festival with 150,000 people.
This is not how shit worked back then.
You know what? I blame his death solely on Buffalo, New York.
It's because shit like Leon Shulkosh killing people that hospitals prepare for large events like this.
That we get overtime.
Yeah. Great overtime.
Yeah.
On September 16th, he was brought to the Erie County Jail to be arraigned before County Judge Emery. After the arraignment, Leon was transferred to Auburn Prison. His defense argued that he must be crazy because no sane person would shoot the president in front of so many people.
I thought you were going to say would drink milk alone in a room.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I present to you the milk. So they eventually denied his claim of insanity, and he was sentenced to death by electric chair.
Oh, good.
And that's the story of Leon Shulkosh and William McKinley. And I do think the most important part of this story is that Teddy Roosevelt was the vice president at this time.
Okay.
When this was happening, Teddy Roosevelt was just fucking off in the wilderness somewhere.
Yeah, he was probably just on a bear hunt.
Yeah, they had to send a park ranger to go for a 3-day hike to be like, Teddy, you're the president, son. Yeah.
Dude, that was the longest walkabout for you ever.
Ended on a high note.
Jesus Christ. Also, you've done 2 stories on a guy named Leon now, by the way.
Who's the other Leon?
Theremin, excuse me.
Wee-oo.
Yeah, they're like, space age shit. All right, so luckily for every listener ever, I have a 2-page story this time, so it's going to be a lot shorter. All right, Ryan. So since you were in Buffalo, we're going to hop the pond to Toronto.
Oh, Canada.
Or Lake Ontario? Yeah, Lake Ontario.
It's not a pond, that's a lake.
Dude, neither's the Atlantic Ocean, but we call it a pond when we refer to England.
I don't.
The term of endearment, Ryan. All right, so I'm going to talk about the Toronto Circus Riot and the unimaginable brawl that changed the political landscape of Toronto.
The Toronto Circus Riot.
Yes, that's what I said, the Toronto Circus Riot.
I've been in a riot once or twice in my life.
No, you haven't.
But never a circus riot.
You've definitely been at the bottom getting your just fucking face pounded.
One time there was a fight at my elementary school with 20 kids, and I stood in the back throwing rocks.
You know, I was in your elementary school.
Do you remember that?
I don't.
Should have been there.
I think I know exactly who would have started it, though, if I had to guess.
So, yeah, I'm pretty used to riots.
Yeah, it's because of his chain.
Yeah.
All right, so on the morning of July 12th, 1855, the circus came to Toronto.
Fuck.
What are you looking for?
Fuck.
I think we're pausing for Ryan here.
No, I have to. God damn it.
What do you have to
Do you have our Instagram?
Why?
I was supposed to do a shout out. A guy sent us a thing, and I was supposed to do a shout out. I'll add it in post.
You were, yeah. Yeah, the way you asked. So remember how he's been asking for a while for you guys to send in fun facts and stuff? He finally got one.
And I forgot about it.
And he just was not prepared at all. So shout out to that guy who sent it to us because
Something about dogs.
No, yeah, it was about Frederick the First or something.
But I gotta say his name.
He like Great Danes or something. I don't know. So with a population that had tripled to over 40,000 people in just a few decades, it quickly became one of the largest cities in Canada. This is 1855. Yet
Toronto.
Yeah.
You gotta say it like Drake says it. Toronto.
Either way, so this is 1855. Regardless of the population of 40,000 and being one of the largest towns, it was still considered a rough and tumble frontier town. It had over 152 saloons and brothels.
That's kind of cool.
The brothel part or the
Either.
You meant the brothel part.
Either.
So
I like drinking and I like sex. What can I say?
So, the clowns and the carnies of the S.B. Howe's Star Troupe, Menagerie, and Circus fit right in with this environment. Also, they were American, by the way. So keep that in mind.
You.
What?
Someone's calling you.
Can you see who it is?
This week's shout out comes from a fellow podcast called The Life and Times of Frederick the Great. And the fun fact is that Frederick the Great was into greyhounds.
So I forget.
So go listen to the Life and Times of Frederick the Great. Available wherever you find it's available on Spotify, Apple, and Anchor.
Are we available on Anchor?
No, because Anchor's weird.
All right. So either way, I forget where I was. Oh yeah. So the troupe fit right in. Troupe. I'm gonna say troupe. So S.B. Howe had been one of the first organized circuses to appear in the United States. It was the first to use live animals like lions, tigers, and elephants.
Oh my.
And one of the first to begin regular tours from city to city. So when the performance at the Big Top ended on the night of July 12th, a group of clowns from the troupe decided to go out for a night on the town.
Do you think they kept the makeup on?
I would love to think so, dude. I think that would make it so much
Just
better.
A bunch of carnies getting absolutely
Yep.
trashed.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, carnies party harder
They
than
have
anyone
to.
else.
Yeah, especially if you're a traveling cert. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're doing like opium and shit. Right?
So they went from bar to bar and eventually found themselves at the Mary Ann Armstrong Social Club.
Is that a?
It was a
place where you get
brothel. It was a brothel. Yeah. So it was on the corner of King and Jarvis Street, and it was one of the many hundreds of brothels in the streets of Toronto. Toronto. So at the same time, Mary Ann Armstrong was also playing host to another group of young men. Ryan, who do you think they were?
A bunch of gay prostitutes.
The Hook and Ladder Firefighting Company.
That's a pretty cool name.
Yeah. So at this time, public city operated fire departments did not exist. All companies were for profit.
So I know we've talked about this, but I
Yeah.
do think it's hilarious that in places like Arizona, there's still for-profit
Yes.
fire
Yeah.
departments.
Yep. So, to describe a for-profit fire department, so whenever a fire broke out, each company would rush to the scene, where the first to arrive would cut a deal with the building's owner and then put out the fire. So you'd have to agree to pay a certain amount, and then they'd be like, "All right, I guess I'll do it."
That'd be cash or credit.
But something tells me by the time they're horse-drawn, really shitty carriages, a bucket and water showed up, your house is already fucked.
Yeah, because you got to get all the horses hitched up and everything. You got to fill all the pails.
That's a good point.
And then you get there, and then you still have to haggle on the price, which is going to take 15
Yup.
minutes.
And everything's wood.
Yeah, so it's going up.
Yeah, so every house is probably fucked in Toronto. When two rival fire companies would arrive at the same time, it is not unusual that the companies would duke it out. In fact, just 2 weeks prior to this event, the Hook and Ladder Brigade had gotten into a melee with another company that got so out of hand the cops were called. All while the house burnt down.
Do you think these fire departments ever hired people not because they thought they'd be good firefighters, but because they just they were like, this guy could kill somebody.
Fuck someone up.
Yeah.
Also, I have this in what happens later, and they did use their tools to attack people. But can you imagine being the homeowner and you're trying to get someone to extinguish your house, and there were two firefighters sword fighting with axes?
You're like, help, my baby's in there. And the
Yeah,
guy's
just-
beating another guy to
Yep.
death with a Halligan.
Yep, and they're just dueling. Yeah. So that was Toronto in 1855. Now, after another rough day of fighting both fires and other firemen, the Hook and Ladder Company visited a few taverns, got a bit unsteady on their feet, and also ended up at Miss Mary Ann's Social Club.
So they're also super drunk.
Yeah, so the weird clown animal touchers are there, and also the really beefy, just testosterone driven firefighters.
So I mean, if I had to guess, if I'm putting money on this, this is my thought process, right? The firefighters are definitely stronger.
Yeah.
Because they're fighting fires, climbing ladders, carrying heavy shit all day.
Thank you for the compliment.
But the carnies are all definitely on amphetamines.
Yeah, they're definitely on some drugs.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It could go 50-50
Yeah.
for me. Yeah.
So, all right. And so on the night of July 12th, two gangs of half-drunk, testosterone-driven young men were packed together into a small building full of attractive, available young women.
Okay. Sorry. I know
Set
I
the
keep
scene.
derailing you, but how attractive can a prostitute from Toronto in 1858 really be?
I mean, not great, but that's all you got to choose from.
That's fair. Continue.
So, stories vary on exactly what happened. In some versions, one of the clowns and one of the firemen came to blows over the services of a particular young lady.
That's my whore.
In others, one of the firemen knocked the hat off of a clown. In others, one of the clowns cut in line ahead of the fireman.
And in another account, a clown squeezed a button on his
Yeah,
lapel
I
and
was just
flour
about to
shot
say.
water at him.
Can you imagine bumping into a clown knocking his hat off and you hear a horn? You hear, like a goofy laugh.
Please tell me that the way these clowns fight, it's all like Three Stooges. One tabletops.
Why you wanna?
One guy bops your nose, and, jams his fingers into your eyes.
Well, another guy tabletops
And
you.
they're just like, wee, wee, wee.
So, whatever set it off, the result was swift. A gigantic brawl broke out between the clowns and the firemen, in a brothel, by the way. By the time the cops arrived, the clowns had thoroughly beaten the crap out of the firemen, sending two of them to the hospital.
Please tell me they started another fire, and then two more fire departments showed up and started beating the shit out of it.
Kept. So, that was July 12th, and that's not the end of the story, because that would have been an incredibly uneventful story.
Continue.
So,
You've tickled my fancy.
But it didn't end there. So local politics entered the picture. So to get a little political and weird with Toronto. So much of Toronto's population was made up of immigrants from Ireland, and they brought their Irish political and religious conflicts with them. While the majority of the city's Irish community were Catholics, the Toronto city government was dominated by Irish Protestants because they were a colony of England, which is all Protestant.
Yeah.
So Protestants versus Catholics, it was a whole thing.
Goes
So
back a ways. Does it go back to that king that wanted to get divorced?
yes, literally,
Okay.
yeah, literally, he just couldn't get divorced, and now everyone is all about whatever.
So he started a new church to be like, give me some new pussy.
Yeah,
God.
literally, and everyone's like, "This is the right church for me." Yeah. So the upper class citizens of Toronto were Protestant. The lower class Irish people, who everyone fucking hated Irish immigrants for some reason, were like, the dirty potato eating motherfuckers. So, and the Protestants were called the Orange Order.
Okay. Oh, because they're hair.
Or orange men, yeah, because they were Irish Protestants. So Toronto was mainly Irish, but it was split between Irish Protestants and Irish Catholics.
Yeah.
The Irish Protestants ruled Toronto, and the Irish Catholics were just fucking scum.
Gotcha, okay.
So these Irish Protestants were called the Orange Order or Orange Men, which is just fucking weird to me. But
so a gang of orange men coming down the road.
So the Irish Protestants waged war on the Irish Catholics, and they did this a lot by so they tried to make the Irish Catholics second-class citizens, and they did this by involving gangs who would just routinely beat up Irish Catholics in the streets and threaten their lives and shit.
How do you know an Irish guy is Catholic just by looking at him?
That's a good question. Maybe they had a Irish cross on them.
See it like a rosary.
Yeah, or if he's not in a suit. I don't know.
Hmm.
So they were just constantly threaten and beat up to these people to make two different classes in Toronto. So the police department and much of the fire department wore orange men because there were high standards and whatever. I don't know. They were political people, so they had to be, of course, the Catholic or the Protestant side of it. So since the firefighters and the police department were part of this Orange Order, they were kind of it was like a brotherhood,
Yeah.
So
much
the
today's firefighters.
No, we fucking hate cops. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
So the firefighters and the cops teamed up essentially
To beat the shit out of the cars.
Yeah, exactly. So, after getting their asses whooped by out-of-town clowns, the firemen on the hook.
Did you plan that?
Yeah, out-of-town clowns.
That's so good.
So the hook and ladder company, the men were bent on revenge and counted on getting it. So the next night, which happened to be Friday the 13th. That was the point, not July. No one gives a fuck. So it was Friday the 13th.
Okay.
Which I think is just awesome. A gang of firemen, accompanied by a mob of local Orange Order supporters, gathered where the circus was camped out that night.
Did they release all the lions and elephants?
Dude, that would have been fucking sick. Can you imagine you're fighting a guy and you see the guy next to you get mauled by a tiger?
And then a clown pulls out a bowling pin and beats the shit out of you.
One guy's riding an elephant. You're just what the
Dude,
fuck?
I'm just imagining the brawl from Anchorman, but it's all
Yes.
carnies and firefighters.
Yes, but it's guys in fire suits and then, yeah. So they began to gather around SB House, Star Troop, Menagerie, and Circus. The troop had pitched their tents at the Fair Green, which is a big grassy space on the waterfront of Lake Ontario.
Cool.
Now it is currently located next to the Toronto Sun building, if anyone cares. So the farmers and merchants who set up stalls nearby, because they were set up near a little farmer's market, were basically told by the cops beforehand, hey, you should get the fuck out of here.
Listen, laddie, there's some stuff going down.
Yep. So basically everyone dipped besides the circus people and the orange men, which just feels really weird to say, but that's what they call themselves.
Okay.
So the mob was led by the Hook and Ladder Company, who would then they started the mob by just setting fire to shit, as most firefighters do.
Gonna give a good thrash into those carnies.
So you may be asking yourself, where were the police during this fight, Ryan? Right?
Were they paid off or something?
Well, they weren't necessarily paid off. It was more of just the Brotherhood of the Orange Men. So that should be a great movie. That'd be a great. Write that down.
They were we'll just turn a blind eye to this.
Yeah. So the police chief Samuel Sherwood was an Orange Man, and essentially he heard the news beforehand. It was basically just yeah, I don't give a fuck. I think it'd be kind of fun.
Okay.
So this time it was the circus gang who took their ass kicking. And there's multiple accounts of what happened during it. I'll get to that. But one of my favorite parts is that the police eventually had to show up, but all the cops are also orange men, so they would all just stand around and make sure no one like actually killed themselves.
Oh no.
Yeah, like made sure like you were beating the guy to a pulp but not dead. You know. So, sorry, I wrote this awfully. So it's reported that a lot of the people would throw stones at each other, and that a lot of firemen had pike poles and axes that they were just bludgeoning people with. And a pike pole is like a 6-foot long pole with a spike at the end. So basically like a pikeman from like the medieval times, but just like a testosterone driven guy because he
like
got beaten.
Phalanx of firefighters.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, with
just
axes
charging
and
at
shit.
clowns.
Yep, clowns who have like air horns. It's like,
I mean, it's gotta be tough to run away in those big shoes they got on.
Yeah, right. So it's reported that it got so bad for the clowns that they ended up just like dipping and just running in all directions, and some people dove into Lake Ontario just to get away from the firefighters.
There's a seal bouncing on a ball, and he's like, "Fuck, I gotta get out of here."
No, the clowns called in the Navy, and there was a bunch of SEALs.
But all they can do is sit at the shore and just balance stuff on their nose
and just clap. But that's good encouragement from the water.
Yeah.
Either way, it didn't work. The clowns had to run away from the firemen and the cops and all the other orange men guys in suits and shit that were just burning all of their stuff down. All because they like fought like a little group of firemen the night before in a brothel.
That's pretty wild.
Kind of wild. So, like I said earlier, the police pretty much did nothing. They just watched and made sure no one actually like killed anyone. Even Chief Sherwood himself showed up. But he only claimed that he stopped the rioters from setting fire to the cages that animals were in.
Oh,
so that's a nice guy.
The tigers were okay.
Yeah, thank God the tigers were okay. So of the 17 people who were actually charged in the riot, only one was ever convicted. All of the police who were at the scene claimed they couldn't remember any of the orange men who were there.
I didn't get a good look at them.
Yeah, like literally. This is like a thing that the cops would just keep doing. Every time like someone of this orange cult or whatever would get arrested, the cops would just be like, I don't know. Wasn't there?
I didn't see him.
I don't think he was there. And they'd be like, sir, you arrested him. Be like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was me.
So literally they arrested 17. Must have been 16 of them are orange men. And they were just like, I don't know. Like he literally almost killed 4 clowns. And be like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't see it.
He broke like 9 noses that night.
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
Like so many people said he was lighting fire to shit. I don't know. But
it was tough to see. It was too bright.
It was too bright. There was too much fire. So that, as far as most people were concerned, was a cover-up by the Orange Men Police Department.
Yeah, I'd believe it.
Yeah. And this would keep on happening. So a few months later, there was another Protestant versus Catholic riot, and Chief Sherwood's memory was again suspiciously fuzzy as far as Orange Men were concerned. Once again, him and his department were put on trial, or not put on trial, but you know, like the arresting officer has to go, right? And every time they just be like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. It was just like the most corrupt fucking police force and I almost said Toronto's history, but probably like a lot.
Yeah.
Big a lot of history. That's English.
Big a lot of history. I think I took AP Big a lot of history in high school.
Yeah, I almost said A push, but I was trying to make the words together. It didn't work. I don't think that fast. So by now, the population of Toronto just had enough of their absolutely corrupt police force. So at the next election, mayor election, because the mayor was also an Orangeman.
Yeah.
Oh, also, it was reported that, I thought I wrote this down, but the only way that the riot was stopped, it took the mayor to settle things down, so he came to the Fair Green in person, and he actually kept a fireman from killing a clown with an axe by grabbing the axe out of the fireman's hands as he was just bludgeoning the clown on the ground.
Dude, it's gotta be annoying trying to beat a clown to death. Every time you hit him in the face, that big rubber nose. Just
And also the mayor had to call in the local militia who had to threaten like bayonets to the firemen's faces for them to stop.
Jesus Christ. He's like, listen guys, you're not getting in trouble, but I need you to stop.
How confused would you be? So this is like essentially like the equivalent of the National Guard, right? You get called in, you show up, and the cops are just like, yeah, get him. And you're just like, wait, what the fuck?
But they're yelling at firefighters who are killing clowns.
Yep. And this is just a normal night in 1855 Toronto. After 20 years of having an I just keep saying it, just sounds weird. After 20 years of having an Orangeman as a mayor, the citizens of Toronto finally voted him out and voted a Reform Party mayor into office, which I don't know what that is, but that must
Probably
be like
someone who isn't super corrupt.
Yeah, exactly. So what ended up happening is that they fired all the corrupt city government officials, including every single person on the police department. Everyone.
Yeah, makes
Every
sense.
cop, the chief, everyone. They just cleaned house. And then they had to like rebuild. I don't know if the Toronto Police Force is still corrupt, but I think it'd be funny if they had a plaque being like, "Don't be like the Orange Men."
Yeah,
Every
is there
time you
like
left,
a monument at the Green now?
is there a monument?
Yeah, that'd be
That I
hilarious
don't know.
if there's a monument and it's like a firefighter standing on a
Yep,
clown.
yep. No, he's doing the Captain Morgan, but on a clown's face, holding a fire axe. Here lies. But yeah, so that's just basically the really quick story of the Toronto Circus Riot and how it changed the political landscape of Toronto.
Well, that's quite an interesting,
I just think it's like
interesting little history tidbit.
really weird that like firemen like really took it personal that two guys got sent to the hospital.
You know, I've heard tell that they still hold a grudge today.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, that's this week's episode. That's all I got. We did the shout out.
Yeah, we did the
That's
shout
about
out. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed. I know mine was long winded, but we got there in the end. Had a couple laughs.
Yeah, you were
Had a
talking about
couple
Spanish,
cries.
like Hornet rifles and stuff, when the entire story was just the last 5 minutes of your story.
Tell a friend about our podcast. Leave us a rating.
And check us out on YouTube
This
and
is
Facebook in the future.
Hopefully going to be on YouTube if this works. It's really hard. It's just so hard. I just like can't right now. Yeah, tell a friend. I'm Ryan. That's on. We'll see you later. And if you have a fun history tidbit, send us a message on Instagram
he'll
at
actually
whathappened_pod.
And
And
I
I'll
promise
remember
you,
it next week. I
We'll be
promise.
prepared. I promise. Until then, good job. Good job.